ahead and add your, welcome everybody. If you can go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat and add your neighborhood council or organization next to your name and pronoun. And in the chat, add your name and once again, your neighborhood council or organization and what brought you here this evening. That would be great. In case you're not familiar with us, and I think a lot of you are, we're the LA Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, and our mission is to advance sustainability and resilience across the city through advocacy, sharing of best practices, and community action. Our agenda tonight is we're just going to do a very brief little housekeeping, and then we're going to jump into the topic of tonight. We have a couple experts from LASAN here, and they're going to talk about a relatively new tool called Sort LA. Some of you might be familiar with it. If you aren't, it's pretty cool and pretty fun. And I've played with it, around with it a lot, and I've actually found it to be super helpful. And we're going to talk about any questions we have about recycling, trash, composting, and all of that stuff. So I hope you folks have questions. And then towards the end, around 8 o'clock, we'll transition into our committee reports. And if you folks have announcements, that's the time to share them. And of course, we always love to hear from you. So we do ask for your evaluations because we want to know, we want to make sure that this is valuable for you. In terms of housekeeping, you can raise your hands, and we do have community agreements that we ask you folks to follow. They're pretty simple. If you can have your camera on, that's helpful so we can be building community. Assume good intent and give folks the benefit of the doubt. This evening, sometimes we have super spicy conversations. Tonight, I do not imagine will be spicy. But I suppose you never know. Demonstrate respect and appreciation. We do have the chat open, so we do want a conversation, but refrain from having too many side conversations in the chat. Listen intently, step forward, and then step back, meaning contribute, and then let others do the same. Be concise if possible. That's one of my struggles. And of course, have fun. And one of our board members will put the community agreements in the chat for us. And then speaking of board members, let's have our board introduce ourselves. I'm Lisa Hart. I'm the executive director, and I'm on the board. And I will ask Aurora, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Aurora Corona. I am a board member of the Sustainability Alliance, and I'm also a former APICO Union secretary board, and I'm currently their budget advocate as well. So happy to see everyone here.
And Charles.
Hey everyone, Charles Miller. I'm, in addition to being on the board, I am the Green Committee Chair for the Palms Neighborhood Council. I'm also the chair of Los Angeles Climate Reality Project and engaged on a number of fronts. Very happy to see all of you here this evening.
Oh, and he's reminded me, I should have said I'm on the Green Committee for the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. And Muriel.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Muriel Nakar. I'm part of the LANCSA board. I'm also the co-chair of the Transportation and Land Use Committee, and I was formerly part of the Echo Park Neighborhood Council.
Okay, thank you. And I think we're ready to dive in. I'm going to introduce Nick Nuccio and Tristan Marler, who are with LASAN. So if we can have them spotlit, that would be super helpful. And Nick and Tristan, I'll let you folks introduce yourselves. And then Nick will have the floor and present to us. And then after that, we will open it up to everybody.
Thank you, Lisa. Tristan, do you want to say anything to start?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tristan Marler. I work for LA Sanitation. I'm the Neighborhood Council and Bid Liaison. I've been working with Lisa for about the past 2 years, as well as Aurora, who's also here today. And I'm joined by my colleague, Nick, who is going to talk about the sort of layup. So I'll go ahead and hand over the mic to Nick.
Thank you, Tristan. Um, Give me 1 second. Please let me know if you can see my screen, everybody. I'm trying to make it full screen right now.
Almost. I can
There
tell
we go.
you're on your way.
Are we there yet?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is Nick Nuccio. I am an environmental engineering associate for LA Sanitation and Environments. Today, we're going to talk about our residential organics and recycling program, which means we're going to go through some of the services that you are welcome to as a City of LA resident, as well as some of the rules on how to use your green, black, and blue bins most effectively and sustainably, and then some tools that we have launched to make all of that a little bit easier for you. I'm happy to take questions during the presentation about the topics that I'm discussing. Um, but if you have any questions about things that sanitation does in general, I'd ask that you leave those towards the end of the presentation, and we will definitely be able to handle those as well. Okay, to get started, before we get into the details, something important to be aware of is that your trash services differ in the city of LA depending on what type of building that you live in. So typically residents in most single-family homes and small complexes, so 4 units or less, are serviced directly by LA Sanitation. And what that means is that you pay us a solid resources fee every month or every 2 months, and then our drivers come in their green trucks to pick up your green, black, and blue bins, and we handle all of that. If you live in an apartment complex or you're a private business or you live in a condo, you're part of the Recycle program, which means that your waste is picked up by a private company. The city decides what private company is assigned to you based on which geographical area of the city you're in, which is what this map on the right is. And then we work with those contractors to set the rates that you pay, but we're not the ones directly picking up your trash. So your services will depend on which of these two scenarios that you're in. If you are an LASAN customer, we say that you're part of our curbside program. You'll get our 3 standard bins that this truck comes and picks up every week. If you are in an area and you have horses, you're also able to sign up for a brown bin for horse manure and bedding. Some annual services that we offer include brush collection, which means if you're doing a big spring cleaning of your yard, you can cut down as much green waste as possible, and we'll take an excess amount of green waste, even if it doesn't fit in your bin. You just have to let us know beforehand by contacting us. This is super important in high fire risk zones of the city, where it may be mandatory for you to have your yards clear. So we don't want that cost on you. Just know that you can call once per year LASAN and we will pick up that excess green waste for you. Similarly, when you move in or move out of a city property, an LASAN service city property, you can call and we will collect extra waste that doesn't fit you. We know you may generate more waste in that scenario. You can also drop off 4 tires per year at one of our collection yards. And then if your container is damaged for any reason, you can contact us and we will repair it for free. And in the meantime, we will collect your trash in plastic bags. For all of these services where I'm telling you to contact us, we always recommend you call us directly and not 311. And so that's our number that is here on the bottom right of the screen, 1-800-773-CITY. Or you can use the MyLA 311 app or the website. That may be helpful to us because you can take a picture of the item and submit it through the app, whatever the issue is that you need assistance with. Also, I'm noticing the chat going off. I don't know if that's people checking in. I can't see any questions in the chat, so just as an FYI. We can always address those at the end, too.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sorry. If people want to ask questions, if you can actually raise your, Zoom hand, and I can you see those, Nick? If you can't,
Yes.
okay, if you can see those, that's fine. That's the better way to do it.
That's the better way to do it, but feel free to send something in the chat and I'll address it at the end. Okay, for all residents of the city, whether you're LASAN service or Recycla, you can make the following requests of us. We will take any bulky items that you have, anything that is too big to fit into a trash can, like furniture, appliances, mattresses, etc. We also collect dead animals, so you can report a dead animal in the public right of way or on city property, and or on your own property, and we will come collect it within 24 hours. You also have access to our hazardous waste centers, which are called safe centers. I'll talk a little bit more later about the exact types of items that you can bring there, but that's generally for hazardous and electronic waste. So now we're going to go into the three bins and how you are meant to use them. We're starting off with the black bin, which theoretically should be the easiest bin. Anything that goes in the black bin is what's going to not be recyclable or compostable. Some common items include pet waste, dishes, rubber hoses, any sort of wood from construction, any sort of styrofoam, and all types of plastic bags or any sort of flimsy plastic. There are certain items that have special rules. If you place a knife in the black bin, we ask that you wrap it up in a piece of cardboard or something, just on the off chance that it could hurt our drivers. And then if you are putting anything that is hot, like cigarette, ashes, or coal, we ask that you make sure it is cool to the touch before you put it in your trash can, because otherwise it can start a fire in the trash can, which nobody wants in their neighborhood. We are always monitoring what goes into the black bin. This is the results of a study we did 10 years ago, but we did another one this year, sorting through residents' waste to see exactly what we're putting in the black bin and what could potentially be recovered. So from the results here, we see that about a third of waste that people are putting into the black bin is organic material that can potentially be composted, and another third or up to a half is much plastic, glass, metal, and paper, which could potentially be recyclable. So it's our goal to encourage usage of the green and blue bins to make sure that as much of this as possible is not going to the landfill and is instead going to potentially be recovered. Question from Anne?
And Anne, before you speak, I would just like everybody who has a comment or a question, if you can introduce yourself first, that would be super helpful.
Hi, my name's Anne, and I was wondering what the difference between organics and green waste is.
So
And Anne, sorry, but like
yes.
who you're with, what neighborhood you're from, or organization, or anything like that.
Climate Reality Project, and
Thank
I
you.
live in Mar Vista.
Thank you, Anne. I wasn't around for this particular study, but my understanding is green waste is traditional yard trimmings, grass, flowers, tree branches, things like that, where organic material is food waste and any dirty paper, like pizza boxes or things like that. Thank you for the question. Moving on to the green bin. The green bin is, we've talked a lot about the green bin in recent years due to a new state law called SB 1383, which mandates all organic waste be put in the green bin. One of the main reasons for this law is for a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So solid waste landfills are one of the highest sources of greenhouse gas emissions in the country. This is because when you put organic waste in landfills, it decomposes into methane, which is a greenhouse gas that is 28 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And this is because it doesn't have access to oxygen when it's breaking down under the surface of a landfill. So when you compost it at surface level instead, and you turn it over, you give it access to oxygen, so it can break down into carbon dioxide instead. And it may seem a little illogical to want it to break down into carbon dioxide, but if you think about it this way, when you divert your food waste from a black bin to a green bin, you're reducing your carbon footprints from food waste by 28 times. So this is one of the most powerful things you can do as an individual to be more sustainable, and it doesn't cost you any money as opposed to something like buying an electric car would. So what can go in the green bin and what can't go in the green bin? As always, we still collect all types of yard waste in the green bin, grass, leaves, wood, twigs, things like that, as well as all types of food, not only fruits and vegetables, but also meat, fish, bones, dairy, cooked food, uncooked food, eggshells, coffee grounds. Anything that you're not eating but came from an animal or plant that you could eat is probably going to be fair game. We also take food soiled paper. So that means anything like paper towels, napkins, plates that are dirty with food, as well as greasy pizza boxes. A question from Terry.
Hi, I'm Terry Friedman. I'm actually not LA. I'm on the Sustainable Burbank Commission. I had a question about paper towels because in Burbank, I think they're more conscious of wanting things to be highly organic and not wanting traditional paper towels because of the chemicals that are used in them. So does LA not differentiate between the types of material if it's a bleached paper towel versus a bamboo or recycled paper unbleached?
We don't differentiate between types of paper towels. The golden rule for our green bin is no plastic. So as long as your paper products have no sort of plastic in them, they're going to be acceptable. Whatever chemicals are used in the paper towel, which will vary from paper towel to paper towel, the effect is the amount is really minimal and doesn't make a lot of difference. Certain like local community composters won't accept bleached paper towels because they often take longer to decompose and it will like linger in the remaining products. But at the industrial facility we bring them to, they don't have an issue with them.
And then as an extension of that,
Mhm.
what about fiber materials like fiber clamshells, coffee lids?
Yes, so all of those will count as food soiled paper unless they have that plastic component. So no type of plastic, which is in my next slide actually, even if it says compostable, we don't accept those. We found that they don't actually break down in the compost facilities that we bring the material to. Um, they say that they make breakdown in in a lab setting where these materials were made. When we actually bring them out into the fields, we expect them to break down within a set time frame, which is about 90 days, so that the compost can then be packaged up and sold to farmers or landscapers. And there will still be remnants of those plastic bits for something like a compostable coffee cup lid, usually in the compost, and no farmer is going to want to buy that. And it composts with little bits of plastic still in it, even if we tell them it's compostable. But generally, those are the two things you'd want to watch out for: is anything that says a compostable or any sort of plastic or wax lining on those paper products or fiber-based products. The key test that we tell people to use is if your water or sauce will soak into the paper cup or paper plate, that means that there's no plastic lining. If the paper cup or plate is waterproof, it has to involve some sort of plastic to be waterproof, so it is not going to be compostable.
And therein lies the conundrum, right? I mean, because it's not really that helpful if it's not waterproof.
Exactly. So there are, those old-fashioned paper plates that were a little bit flimsy and soaked through them. Those are typically okay, but we haven't found something like a compostable coffee cup that is actually compostable yet because they all involve some sort of plastic. We have a couple questions, so I'll try and move through them. Felicia?
Hi, Felicia Bushwitz. I'm the VP of Sylmar Neighborhood Council, which is right up here at the tip of Los Angeles. I was wondering about the, food scraps and things like that. I normally send down the garbage disposal. Is it better to compost those things or put them in the green bin so that they can be used, or is it better to let those go on down the drain?
That is an awesome question. Thank you for asking that, Felicia. It is perfectly okay to do either. In both of the scenarios, the food will be recovered and will have a second life. So in the green bin, it's going to go and get composted. If you put it down the sink, it's going to go to one of our water treatment facilities, and it's going to go through an anaerobic digestion process. And in that process, they will capture the gases that come from it and convert it into energy. So your carbon emissions are not going to be affected or going to be the same no matter what we do with it. And then we're going to find a use for it. And so in the compost, it's turning into compost. In the down the sink, it is being turned into energy, and the solids they're taking and using it to grow cattle feed up in Kern County.
Thank you.
Can I push back on that a little?
Yes.
In the green bin, though, currently it's being schlepped in, I don't know, like a diesel or some kind of truck, which is not great.
Yes, so that is definitely something to consider in terms of the transportation of the materials. It's much more efficient to push things through a sewer system than it is to have to truck the materials. So what ends up happening is our trucks will pick up your green bin. We bring them to what's called a transfer station where they get consolidated into larger trucks, and then the majority of the city's green bin material will be trucked up to Lamont, which is kind of in the Antelope Valley area. And so you you can consider, putting your food waste down the drain to be, um, cut off some of those greenhouse gas emissions from that route. I don't have the exact data for you in terms of a complete analysis of both systems, but there's pros and cons, and we definitely encourage a healthy use of both systems. What I do is that I'll typically put wetter stuff down the drain, um, things like strawberry heads and like some the cooked food that's off my plate, because I know that A, the garbage disposal can handle it, and B, that stuff is going to make my compost pail or my compost bin stinky. And so you find a balance. You eventually, once you start doing it for a while, whatever's most, you kind of find the balance of what's convenient for you to put in the compost and what's convenient for you to put down the drain, as long as it doesn't clog up your garbage disposal. Thank you for the question. I'll move on to Yael's question.
Yeah, my question is probably something that other people have asked, the smell. If people throw away, proteins, it attracts worms and rats and whatever. How is this a good idea in general? Because I mean, I have a bin for compost, which everybody did, but it's not always convenient. So how do
So
we deal with that?
I have to find my slide about that. Here we go. We have a couple tips that I think make it a little bit easier. Ultimately, what we found in, you know, our testing of this is that yes, putting out meat into your green bin is going to cause some odors and attract pests. It's not really that much more than it was when you were putting it out into your black bin. So some tips to make sure that you are doing this correct to the best ability in your bin is things like um, making sure you set out your bin every week so that the truck can come take it every week so that you're not having things like meat out in the bin for more than 7 days. It's best to layer your food and yard waste. We call this the trash lasagna, where yard waste is at the bottom, food waste is in the middle, and then more yard waste is on the top. This kind of insulates it. The food waste can soak up some of the moisture so that it is not as odorous. You also always want to make sure that your lids are closed so that vermin like rats can't have a harder time getting in. And then also another solution to this is keeping it inside the house as much as possible. So if you're having issues with it at the curb, you can wait until your collection day to take out your pail or whatever you're using to collect your food waste so that it's not outside as much. You're also welcome to keep your food scraps in your fridge or your freezer. They'll decompose less and be a lot less odorous this way as well. And then, of course, covering any of your food waste with paper, wrapping it in newspaper, wrapping it in a paper bag also provides a little bit of that protection from the elements as well.
Can I ask a quick other question?
Yes.
Where do you do that? Which part of the city do you do it? Because it will smell. So where do you do that?
The processing the compost, I mean, where do we take it?
Yes.
As I said earlier, it goes to a facility in Lamont up in the Antelope Valley. So we don't, we have what's called a transfer station in downtown LA where we collect where the trucks dump the material off of it, but it doesn't stay there more than 48 hours. It gets collected into bigger trucks and then trucked up to Lamont.
Thanks.
AJ was next.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, for the presentation. AJ, Energy Committee Chair, former Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council board member. So I think I just wanted to tie into, I I guess what you covered in the slide about putting, for example, a greased pizza box, and I guess you're saying that the process of that is layering it with yard waste, but
Hmm.
does this process take into consideration that there's not always going to be yard waste? I mean, we're in a drought period where not everybody is having that yard waste every week. And going back to the previous question about potential, potentially attracting pests, which continues to be an ongoing issue in the city of LA. How do you plan, like, what are the good prevention measures if you don't have yard waste? Because that's a concern for a
Yeah,
lot of residents.
I understand that concern. We have run into a lot of people who say they don't have significant amounts of yard waste to put out every week. Unfortunately, your solution, everybody's solution is going to be a little bit different. We always recommend trying each of the tips that we say. So lining, putting your food waste in paper bags will help a little bit. Covering it up with newspaper if you have that will help a little bit. Um, the best thing in my opinion is keeping your food waste in the freezer all week, and then putting it out the day of the collection because it'll be cold and it won't be able to cook out there in the heat. So some combination of those things are going to be the best way to kind of deal with that. Unfortunately, there is no perfect solution because we don't allow things like plastic in the green bins, so you cannot really insulate it from the effects. It will be up to you to, unfortunately, be stringent about that and patient and conscientious about how you use your green bin. Next question from Terry.
Excuse me. Good seeing you again. No
Yes.
more Pico, but I'm going to invite you to come to the West Side Neighborhood Council because I'm
And Terry, can you introduce yourself, please?
Terry Tippett, West Side Neighborhood Council Chair.
Thank you.
And we did Pico every year, and Nick's group came and they know this council has always been one of the leaders in recycling, shall we say. Back when Zeb was our council person, we held the first recycling news conference in my front lawn. So I am just surprised at what I've seen so far because I'm one of those people that have been putting the waste in the green bags that you get at the market.
Yep.
And because, as Charles knows, my front lawn left a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago. I hardly have any the greenery I could put in my trash can. And so that's why I've been putting it in the plastic bags, which said it was compostable. So now what we're learning today is no, you put it in there, and I assume we still put the baking soda over it, like
Yes.
you taught us to do,
Yes.
and things like that. But I think this is going to discourage more people. If I just make chicken soup and the whole carcass, I put in the green thing to go in there. So I'm thinking you really need to get out to more of the neighborhood councils, maybe. To let them get their people we do Zoom, as you know, so it'll be very easy for you. So you and I will talk offline. But I must say again, as someone who prides himself as being part of Ellie's recycling for 30, 40 years, I'm amazed at what I'm learning tonight that I thought I was doing right. So why can't we put it in the green bags?
Thank you for the comments, Terry. This is definitely a frustration, not only of that you have, we share it as well, and then everyone we've talked to shares it, where you buy a bag, you think it's compostable. They just passed a statewide law that allows those compostable bags to be distributed at like supermarkets, even though nowhere in the state is it actually compostable. Even in places in the state where they do take those compostable bags, what they're doing is they're removing them before they're taking the food waste out of the bags. and they're not actually composting the bags.
Is that part of the SB 54, or is that something completely different?
So it's completely different. It's the plastic. There is a specific law, I don't remember the number off the top of my head,
Okay,
about
okay.
about produce bags, and it banned single-use plastic produce bags, but compostable bags were allowed to be an exception out of that.
Wow.
When there isn't really any evidence that they're actually compostable. Even cities that accept them throughout California are not actually composting them. They're just accepting it because it's easier. We are trying to do, we chose to not accept them because, um, we want to be very upfront with our constituents that we're only accepting things that are actually really compostable. We're not going to be taking all of this plastic waste, trucking up all the way to Lamont just to throw it out. And so we are, happy for your, like, we understand your struggle and we're really hopeful for your cooperation in this so that we can find other ways to find out some other way to sort our green waste and our organics to in the most sustainable way we can. Okay, another question from Andrea.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
there's a couple of questions, but so
Andrea, you need to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Andrea Leon Grossman. I live in City 5. I work mostly promoting renewable energy, but I had also worked on bills around plastic and plastic waste. Question is, so basically anything that goes down the sink will produce biogas. Do you have anything that basically looks at that biogas emissions, and especially sulfuric acid or sulfuric emissions, SOx emissions, versus what it takes to actually do composting? Because I think that will be a big one. And then for those of us who are privileged enough to have a backyard, are you doing any programs for folks to do their own composting? And then my last question, I also put it in the chat, is that I recall seeing a flyer about not being able to put any palm tree debris in the green bin, as well as succulents. So if you can clarify that, that'll be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Andrea. Sorry, I want to go through your questions one by one. So the easy one is the home composting. We do offer a couple times per month home composting and urban gardening workshops. They are offered at sites throughout the city. There's one at Griffith Park, one at Lopez Canyon in the Valley, one in the Harbor area, where we have presenters who come and teach tips on how to do your own composting at home, plant native plants. This is something we really, really want people to compost at home because that's the best possible thing you can do. You can't, it's harder to compost. You're mostly going to be want to composting things like fruits and vegetables, and you may still need to use your green bin as well. But keeping the materials in your own home is the absolute best thing you can do with them. Unfortunately, we only have composting workshops scheduled to the end of June because we ran out of funding for them. But we're trying our hardest to keep those going as soon as possible. You can go to our website, lacitysan.org, to find out the schedule of those. In terms of the palm trees, I do have notes here. We don't take palm fronds and succulents in the green bin, and those are for two different reasons. For the succulents, it's because when they break down, they don't break down fully, and they're going to propagate in the new soil. So you know how when you cut off a little bit of the edge of a succulent and it can grow into something new? That's basically what happens. And so we really encourage you not to put that into your green bin because farmers aren't going to want to buy compost that has a bunch of succulents growing out of it. In terms of the palm trees, what happens is that it breaks the equipment at the facility. So I do have a slide showing that. This is what actually happens at the compost facility, where you start with this pile of compost on the top left. that is taken out of people's green bins and we dump there. And then it goes through this big blue machine, which is a shredder. And so what happens when you put palm fronds in the shredder is that it breaks it. It's going to get stuck. Those fronds are too fibrous, and they're going to break this machine. This is a really expensive piece of machinery, and the compost doesn't work if they don't break it down to a certain size. And so that's why we ask you not to put palm fronds into the green bin and put them into the black bin instead. If you see palm fronds out on the street, please call street services, make a 311 request, and they'll come pick those up. But if it's on your property or coming from a tree on your property, then you should be put into your black bin. And I'm sorry, you had 3 questions. What was the first one that you asked, Andrea?
It was about sulfuric emissions
Oh,
in the.
okay. I don't have the answer to that right now, unfortunately. Feel free to email me. I'll give my email at the end of the meeting, and then I can connect you with somebody who knows that program well and can answer those questions more correctly than I can.
And about the palm trees, is there
Yes.
anything in the works to make them illegal to plant or something? Because I think if we put them in the black bin, they're going to be generating lots of methane.
I'm not aware of anything specific in the works to make them illegal. We're definitely trying to. We have a tree planting group who is really trying to move away from palm trees and start planting more native trees. So any trees that LASAN specifically plants are not going to be palm trees because they use a lot of water. They don't give a lot of shade. There's a lot of various other environmental effects that they have, including the fact that they are not compostable. I can't speak to anything like a citywide ban, but that's something you could definitely email me about, and I will connect you with the people on that group who can answer your question a little bit better.
Okay, thank you.
Those are all great questions. One more question from Hong.
I wanted to ask a question.
I'll give you up next, Robin.
Thank you.
Hi, Nick. My name is Hang Newborn, and I'm the Rampart Village liaison. I'm also the secretary of Community Space Food Bank, also in Rampart Village, and we're a 7-day pantry. Our mission is to end food waste and feed people, so we're diverting food from landfills there. And
that's awesome.
I just want to appreciate everything that LA has done to help with the green bins, because as a new food rescuing organization, I would think that we were trying to navigate it, and we weren't sure if I thought the city would charge us $300 weekly in order to pick up our green bins. But lately, Athens we fill up the green bins, and in the last few months, they've been picking it up on schedule. And so that really saves us from having to drive all of our organics to the homestead or to various homesteads and Compost LA sites around LA. I was just thinking, are these, if we needed more, I guess I'll just call, see what other services are offered.
Thanks for the comment. I can't specifically speak to that. Seems like an issue with the franchise system. I can have Tristan, you can ask again at the end of the meeting, and I'll see if Tristan can help you there. Or again, you can email me afterwards, and I'll direct you to the right person. Okay, question from Robin. You're up now.
Yes. My water is through Beverly Hills, and so I wanted to understand if every garbage disposal system, sewage system, does the energy thing, or if that's just special to the city of Los Angeles.
That's another thing you'll have to email me about specifically, because I don't work on the water side. What probably is happening is the city of Beverly Hills may have an agreement with the city of LA where we bring your water to our treatment plants. And that is most likely what's happening, is that it doesn't get, because there's not a lot of treatment plants. So more than likely you're using ours.
Thank you so much.
Glenn.
I'm concerned about microplastics, and now that things have been opened up for putting into the green bin with our traditionally 100% organic, I think most people, if many of us can't necessarily know if something's got plastic coating or not, I guess if you're environmentally responsible, you'll just throw it away so it doesn't get into the. But that sort of defeats the purpose. And anyway, my question is, and I don't know if you'll address it later in your presentation, what type of quality control is the city doing so that we don't get any plastics up to the farmers? Because then it will get into our food supply and, to the whole chain, including human chain. So if you have that in your program, address it later. But I'm just really concerned, not understanding how it is that, with 1 million plus customers and doing, I've seen all sorts of stuff in these bins that are actually black bin stuff going in the blue bin and in the green bin. And anyway, to me, it just seems like a recipe for disaster. And so I'm just wondering what you're doing to protect us from microplastics in particular, maybe other things.
So that's a great question, Glenn. We're always concerned about contaminating items in the grain bin, and we want to make sure that that doesn't make it to the final compost. And so there's 2 stages. This is actually the perfect part of the presentation to ask because I'm on the slides right now. There is another part of this process that isn't shown on the slides that happens before this, in that all of the material goes onto one giant conveyor belt, and we have staff on site who will pick out major problem items. So that is where they get a lot of the big items that are easy to see, like large plastic bags or furniture or things that people put all sorts of things in the green bin that shouldn't be there, bags of trash that people are throwing in there incorrectly. And so that's our first step of quality control. And then the second step actually happens a little bit naturally, where what's happening is we're going from this top right after it's been shredded to this top left to this picture on the right. All of the material gets put in these long rows called windrows, where they sit there for 90 days to cook and turn into compost. And then it gets turned over by this machine that's green and which adds water and air to it to help it break down faster. And during this process, what actually happens is the plastic will float to the top and fall to the sides. So naturally, just because of the difference in density, we're going to be able to go and recover some of that plastic. It ends up having to be workers going in, picking it up by hand. And so we really want to avoid that as much as possible. And so because that's a very difficult job for them to have to do. But through this process, most of the plastic is going to be removed from the final product. Next question from Vic.
It's that most that concerns me, right?
Yes, we try our best, but there's only so much we can do, and that's why we really ask people to try and do their best to sort it themselves.
Hi, Vic Pacheco, West LA Sawtelle Neighborhood Council. I just wanted to know if the Safe Center at UCLA has been reopened.
I'll address that at the end.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Janice or Giannis? Janice, did you have a question?
Oh, there's do you have a bag?
You may be muted. There you are.
Sorry, I wasn't sure which Janice. It sounded like you had a last name in there that wasn't mine.
Sorry.
No problem. It's not that easy to pronounce. Janice Hattelstead. I don't sit on any neighborhood council, but I'm represented by the Area 6 of the Woodland Hills Warner Center Neighborhood Council. And I just, kind of have a comment and then going into a question, and that is what I would like to see is that there's more incentive for people in the city of Los Angeles to reduce more than just recycle. I have kind of a selfish reason for that. I pay as much as anybody else to put out my trash in my single family neighborhood. And I can tell you, I put out a very tiny fraction of what most of my neighbors put out. I have a green barrel that is 30 gallons. I don't even put out my black and my blue, which are also only 30 gallons. I just put my little bags in somebody else's trash because this is the most just about the most I ever put out in the black bin is this amount. It's a little container from Trader Joe's inside a bread bag. And usually the bread bag is only half full. That's my black bin or contribution to my neighbors. I do have a lot of trees on my property. I have fruit trees. So the green barrel it does have food rinds, citrus rinds in it. But a lot of the citrus rinds end up with the fruit inside still attached and over at the West Valley Food Pantry. So I try to do as much as I can to reduce what's going in. And I would hope that one day the rates that we pay will reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment, Janice. I know Lisa wanted to have a longer conversation about the rates in that structure, so I'm going to push that to the end of the meeting, but we will definitely discuss that.
Nice.
Terry? Oh, Terry, did you have a hand up to ask a question? Or was that an accident?
Sorry, I was
my hand
muted. Oh,
Go
I
ahead,
think you're good
Terry.
to go.
Terry with Sustainable Burbank. Regarding palm fronds, I see at some events, I work in film production, so I see a variety of disposable foodware. For events, sometimes I see people use palm frond disposable plates. Does the same rule apply as an actual palm frond, or are they processed enough, or do they then have chemicals that it's not desired?
I have not personally, I'm going to write that down. I have not personally encountered that before. We haven't specifically tested those. And so I can get back to you on that if you shoot
They're
me an
not as
email about
common
it.
as they used to be like 10 years ago, but they're still out there.
So my instinct would be to say it should be fine. But as long as they're, as you said, your instinct is right to check for things like additives and plastics.
Yeah. And then on top of Vic's question about microplastics, my concern, I'm sure is same as yours, is the produce stickers that people forget or don't take off or don't know to take off. Obviously, they're so small. And especially when it comes to people who work in food service and they're just, throwing out old box of apples or what have you, they're not going to hand pick all the stickers off. So is there something specifically for that, or is that something we should push for legislation to move towards a sticker-free world?
That is definitely something that would be fixed, has to be fixed on the, production aspect of it, the manufacturing or the agricultural industry as a whole. Definitely something that like would come from a statewide or nationwide legislation guidelines on how to reduce that. It is definitely a problem, as you said. We try to remove as much as possible, but those small things can typically pass through our quality controls. That's one of the things that we really ask people to look out for when they're disposing of their food waste. Thanks for the suggestion. That down too. Okay, I think we're finally ready to move on. We talked about most of these things already via the questions. But one thing that I didn't get to mention was pet waste. We always say pet waste is something that people frequently will assume goes in the green bin, but any sort of waste that comes from animals or humans, we ask you not to put in the green bin because there's the potential to carry diseases. And so we don't want that to potentially harm the workers at the compost facilities or the potentially propagate into the new compost. We talk a little bit about the new green bins. So as part of our strategy to most effectively comply with SB 1383, we noticed that some of our customers did not have a green bin yet. And these are often customers who are in complexes of 2 to 4 units who may not have a lot of yard waste to have a green bin. But now that they are generating food waste, we've supplied them with a green bin. And so over the course of the last year or so, we have deployed 90-gallon green bins to all units who pay a solid resources fee who haven't had a green bin. Or potentially may have used to share a green bin, and that's because 90 gallons is the automatic volume that everyone gets. You're welcome to, if you've received this green bin at your apartment complex recently, and you don't want it or you want to downsize to it, you're welcome to do that. We ask that you go either call our customer care center or go to lacitysan.org/green bin deployments. Unfortunately, downsizing or declining this bin doesn't reduce in a reduction of the trash fee you pay. Question from Pat.
Oh, hi, thank you. My name is Pat Alston, and I'm a longtime resident of Mar Vista. I have several questions. One of them is, what do you do with bacon and other grease? How do you get rid of that?
Any greasy items can still be put into the green bin. Grease itself won't compost, but it's okay to have a little bit of oily substances in the compost itself. Just like there's fats in nature, having fats in the green bin is okay as long as it's a small amount. So, for example, like a piece of bacon that has grease on it is totally fine. If you are cooking bacon and you have a bunch of grease left over, if it's enough to be wiped out with a paper towel, that is acceptable. You could then put that paper towel into the green bin. If it is more than that, we ask you to put it into a container and then put that container into the trash.
Okay.
And then if you have really large, like huge amounts, like bottles and bottles of oil, we ask that you not put that in the trash because that can hurt the trucks, and then that can cause damage to the trucks. And then I'll talk about where you can bring that later.
Okay. And also, you had mentioned that one should cover up these in the green bin with newspaper. Well, I always put my newspapers, clean newspapers, in the blue bins.
Yes.
But it's okay to put some newspaper in the green bin to cover up?
Yes. If it's clean, we recommend putting it in the blue bin to get recycled. But if you use some to put in the compost, it's going to get composted because it's paper and it has no plastic in it, so it's okay to get composted.
Okay. And then my last question. I'm a little shocked by what's compostable and which is not. We have been buying for several years since LA started this program, something from UNNI in San Francisco, and their box, it's a green box, which all over it says that they've been doing compostable liners for years and years, and they are authorized to do this. Are those no good?
We have not been able to test every single item, but we tested a wide variety of items that said they were compostable, from forks and plates to boxes with liners. And we brought them to our facility and we had them, compost them for a few months. And we found that basically nothing broke down to the standards that we wanted it to.
Wow.
And so there are lots of certifications out there about what can be composted, but whatever lab tests those people are using are not applicable to what is happening in our facilities in Southern California.
Just in case you're not familiar with this particular product, would you want me to send you the empty box to show you?
Please, at least you can send me a photo or a link to it if you would like.
Okay. I just was wondering because we've been doing this for so long now, at least 2 or 3 years. And I'd be horrified if I knew I was making the problem worse.
We'll look up that item and see if I'll get people who are smarter or more expert on that specific type of thing than me to take a look and get back to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. I think we have almost wrapped up the green bin now. So let's move on to the blue bin. I'm sure there will be plenty of questions about this as well. You may have heard that in the blue bin, you can recycle paper, metal, glass, and plastic. Let's dive a little deeper into what that actually means. So for paper, we're looking for things like cardboard, office paper, envelopes. as well as milk and juice cartons. For metal, we'll take any sort of can, like an aluminum can, tin can, steel can, as well as aluminum trays and foil. For glass, we're looking for specifically bottles and jars, so like the examples in this photo at the bottom, things that are used to package food. Typically, we don't want things like drinking glasses or dishes or cookware or like window glass. Plastics are the trickiest one. They involve the most, attention to detail. Typically, the way to determine if something is recyclable, if it's a plastic item, is to look for a plastic number. And so that's going to be on the bottom of the item, typically within this recycling triangle. So you can see in the top right of the screen is an example where this one says 5 within the triangle. We're looking for items that have number 1, number 2, and number 5. And similar to the glass, this is usually containers, packaging. Plastic number 1 is things like water bottles, peanut butter jars. Plastic number 2 are milk jugs, detergent bottles, cleaning bottles. And plastic number 5 are like yogurt tubs and butter tubs and takeout containers. Typically, with all these items, we ask you to keep the lids and the caps on them when you recycle them. Now, naturally, if plastics number 1, 2, and 5 are not recyclable, then plastics 3, 4, 6, and 7 are, sorry, 1, 2, and 5 are recyclable, then plastics 3, 4, 6, and 7 are not going to be recyclable. This includes things like toys, plastic bags, shrink wrap, solo cups, styrofoam, and those pesky compostable plastics. Keep in mind, no plastic bags under any circumstance are going to be recyclable, no matter what number they say, or any sort of like flimsy plastic. And as well as if you don't find a number on the plastic, then you can assume that it is not recyclable. You may have also heard that you have to wash your recyclables when you to keep them clean. We don't want you standing there scrubbing them like they're your dishes. We ask that you give these materials a quick rinse, scrape, or wipe only, and you should be spending more than 5 to 10 seconds on any item. If it's something like foil, you can fold it so that the dirtiest parts are inwards if you really can't scrape the dirty parts off of it. The exception of this is paper because you can't wash off any paper. If your paper is really dirty, we ask that you just throw it out, or if it has food on it, put it in the green bin. You also want to keep items generally as they came. They were designed to be recycled in the way that they came. So keep your lids on, keep labels on the water bottles, and you don't have to go as deep as taking the plastic film off your paper envelopes. So we are also having a problem in our recycling stream where our trucks are getting set on fire. We noticed that we had a fire about once per week, either in a collection truck or at a recycling facility. So we hired a forensic investigator to find out what the cause of this was, and it was determined that they're caused by items that contain rechargeable lithium-ion batteries. These batteries are found in basically any rechargeable item, phones, tablets, laptops, power banks, things like that. And then what happens when they are in a truck or in a facility is that they get squished, and they will immediately short circuit and spark. And then you can imagine what happens when you have a spark, no matter how small it is, in a truck that's full of paper and newspaper and cardboard. It's going to get set fire really quickly. And so what happens when this once per week fire happens is that we have to dump all the material out of the truck and onto the city street and wait for the fire department to come. And so we don't want to minimize this as much as possible to keep our communities safe and keep our drivers safe. So we did some sorting of the blue bins to find out what is the most common items that we're finding that could potentially cause fires. We're seeing things like power equipments, these portable chargers or power banks, wireless earbuds, and our number one most commonly found item that can cause fires is e-cigarettes. So these are, since they are single use, they're very commonly being thrown out into recycling cans. And then these are what may have caused those fires that you hear about. While we're rooting around in the bins, we also find a lot of gas tanks. These are dangerous for a different reason. They may not necessarily cause fires, but they are explosive and could hurt the workers at the recycling facility. So a lot of these come from propane tanks from grilling, helium tanks from blowing up balloons at parties, and I would imagine most of you have seen these nitrous oxide tanks on the side of the street. They are the number one type of tank that we find in our facilities. People think that they're made of metal, that they're recyclable, but the safety risk makes it so that we really don't want these in our recycling cans. So what do you do with these materials if you don't recycle them? We have facilities called safe centers that we ask you to bring all of your hazardous waste to. We'll take all of that electronic waste that we talked about, from cell phones to computers to kitchen appliances, as well as those e-cigarettes. We also take all other types of hazardous waste, including paint, syringes, medicine, all sorts of household batteries, and all of those gas tanks. Um, we're getting to the end of the presentation. Okay, let's take a question from Terry before we move on.
Because you just brought up safe centers. If
Yes.
someone were to drop off electronics like a flat screen TV, are electronics tested to see if they have a reuse life, or are they just immediately scrapped, or, for parts and whatnot?
So for electronics, we don't have the resources to test every single electronic that comes into the facility. So electronics will always be scrapped. For things that are things like cleaning chemicals or hand sanitizer or a lot of those chemical type things that we receive, if they're unopened, we will actually reuse them. We have giveaway events throughout the city when we're collecting. We do collection events around the city where we collect hazardous waste, and at those events, you can come pick up some of the items that we've recovered. There was also, I'm remembering a question about the UCLA Safe Center. The UCLA Safe Center is now open. It's open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. It's on Fridays, Saturdays, and the first Sunday of the month, I believe, something like that. A question from Felicia.
I just wanted to add on to the last question. I think I've noticed before when we've done the like bulky item removal for a TV before that they send out, maybe it's just a coincidence, but it seems like the thrift shop. They send out a thrift shop van first. What is the name of that thrift shop that you know what I'm talking about?
Like a Salvation Army type?
Yes, Salvation Army
Goodwill?
comes first with the truck and they come and look at it. Is that because of the 311 or they just know?
We don't work with them. They may just know that
they're on the okay.
We pick up once per week, and so we're going through a certain neighborhood at a certain time per week, so they may just know ahead of time.
Okay.
So that may be them being proactive.
Okay, I've noticed on two different occasions we've gone to throw something away and they come out, Salvation Army comes out first and they come look at it and then they decide to leave it and then the truck comes and gets it later. And I didn't know if 311 is like coordinating that. That would be really great if they could for things like TVs and things like that maybe could be reused.
As far as I know, they're not, but that is a great suggestion. That is a great suggestion. And I'll see what my bosses say about that. Okay. Terry, another question? Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a million questions.
No, please. I didn't mean that to be disparaging at all. We're happy to take all of your questions.
So I recently learned about Riverside County diverting large appliances from their landfill, and they have it's called Found It Again Reuse, where they do a once a month, like heavily discounted sale on just large appliances and things that have been diverted that were going to be thrown away and then set aside for a once a month discount sale to the community. Is that something that we might be able to see in LA's future? Because it's just such a beautiful concept.
Thank you. I just heard about that from somebody else recently, so it's becoming more popular apparently. That's definitely something that we will keep in mind. I wrote that down again to send it up to my supervisors. Currently, when we do collect appliances, we will recycle them as much as possible. All of the metal essentially gets recovered, and then the electronic parts typically will go to a hazardous waste landfill. But it's definitely, we are trying to find as many ways as possible to encourage reuse over recycling. So thank you for the suggestion. Anne?
Yes, hi, Nick. I have also a particular question. in terms of paper, I've reduced a lot of junk paper,
Hmm.
but I keep a paper grocery bag and just let all my paper pile it up and then I
Yeah.
tie it up. And I write paper on the outside because I was thinking that if I put that in the blue bin, you may not know what's in there and it might go in the black bin, so I'm wasting my time. But I didn't want the papers to fly around, so that was. You have any better ideas, or is that the way to go?
Thank you for that. We typically, yeah, we typically um, don't ask people to bag their recyclables because we don't have people, a lot of people going through the bags manually. And even if we want to avoid that as much as possible because people could be putting sharp items in there. So it definitely helps that you've labeled it. That is something that is helpful. I think I would recommend you not to tie it as much as possible. I know I have a picture of them tying it here, but there isn't somebody going, this is from like a bygone era where we used to um, ask people to put like cardboard out in the street, and then our um, staff would come pick it up. We typically don't have that level of human sorting. So if you put your paper into a paper bag, that's typically going to be okay. You don't have to go to the lengths to tie it.
What do you think? I think it's because I lived in an apartment building and we
Mm,
would, you know, put it out the back door and it would get
yeah.
collected.
Hmm.
So don't tie it, but just put it in a brown paper grocery bag.
You're happy to put it in a brown paper
Yeah.
grocery bag if you need. What's probably going to happen is it's going to fall out once it
Right.
gets to the facility, and that is totally
Don't
fine.
worry.
The system is designed to handle it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at the point which happens every time where I'm getting anxious about time, just so
Okay,
everybody knows.
I'll keep it moving forward. Um, this might preemptively answer a lot of people's questions. I know that I talked about a lot of things today, a lot of different rules. We don't expect everyone in the city to memorize those. I know you guys are among our, star citizens, but not everyone has that attention to detail. So we've launched this new program called Sort LA. And the way it works, is a waste sorting app. I would really appreciate if you guys scan these QR codes and downloaded it right now so you can follow along with me on this demo. Um, so I'll pause it for a second while can, kind of explain what it is. The way it works is that it's a searchable directory where you are going to search for any household item you could possibly think of, and it'll tell you exactly what to do with it. So you can search up something like a compostable plastic bag, like we just talked about, and then it'll immediately tell you to put those in the trash. And there may be some explanation at the bottom as to why what I said earlier about why we can't accept compostable plastics. For things like recyclables, if you search them up like a water bottle, it'll give you information on how long you have to rinse it out or clean it out and what to do with the lid. Am I good to move on from this slide? So everyone got the information they need. If you can't figure out the QR codes, you can go on your phone's app store and just search Sort LA. This is what I said. It looks like this. It's just a search bar. It's also available in 8 different languages: English, Chinese, Japanese, Khmer, Korean, Russian, Spanish, and Vietnamese, if you have friends and neighbors who would prefer to use it in that language. Instead of lecturing to you about it, I'm just going to show you how it works right now. Can I get an example? Zoom is being annoying. Let me switch tabs. There we go.
Basketball came up in the chat.
A basketball, an example of something, how to throw something out. I don't know if that's in there. Let's see.
Yeah, why'd you give a tough one, Felicia?
This is great. No, I want all of your toughest ones. I'm going to write them down because if you can't find anything in the app, you can just press search or enter, and it'll give you an option to suggest it as a new item. So we're going to suggest it, and that gets submitted to me for review, so I'll be able to add it.
Oh, it gets submitted to you? You're the decider?
Yeah, it does.
I did not know that.
It could also be in something. It
But
might
what's
be in
the
something
answer
more
on the
general.
basketball?
The basketball is trash. Anything that is like that is made up of a bunch of different components, like plastic and leather and all that stuff. It's almost always going to be trash. We want really simple things to be recycled. Any other example? Maybe a little bit easier one.
How about a
Laundry
pillow?
basket.
Oh,
So we could do laundry basket because that did come up. Laundry basket, it'll tell you to recycle it. Typically, this is made out of plastic number 2 or number 5. But then there is an option for bulky item collection if it's too big to fit in your trash can, which it'll explain at the bottom if the basket is too large to fit in a recycling bin to call for bulky item pickup. And then the other question was a pillow.
Yes.
So pillow is not here, but there is a more general suggestion for clothing and textiles, because all clothing and textiles are going to have the same rules, which is that they reuse them if possible, but they go in the trash. You can also find a note here when you look it up that you should never place clothing or textiles of any kind in the blue bin. What happens is that it gets caught in the equipment, and then the entire process is to be stopped while a worker goes and fishes it out. And so that's something we want to avoid as much as possible. And then even if you scroll down, it'll give you extra information about how they can't be placed in the green bin, even if they're made out of natural fibers, such as cotton or silk. Almost always, even if it says 99 to 100% cotton, there's going to be some sort of plastic component in the zipper or the aglet at the end of the string. It's actually because of the regulations of the California Department of Food and Agriculture, compost facilities are not under any circumstances allowed to accept textiles. One more suggestion. What do we want to look up?
Well, let's just do grease.
Let's do grease. That's a great one. So grease, there's an option for fats and greases. And this was one of the more complicated ones. I remember I was explaining it earlier and it took me like 5 minutes to explain it. So this category is really in depth. This entry is really in depth. The first thing it says is that fats, oils, and greases should never be poured down the sink. They can cause clogs in your drains, in the pipes, and in the sewer system. And then it'll say trace amounts of grease on paper products are acceptable in the green bin. So this is what I was saying earlier. If you can wipe it up with a paper towel, it's totally fine to put in the green bin. Small amounts, like a cupful for cooking, should be poured into the trash, ideally in a sealed container. So this is if you're cooking a lot of bacon and your pan is full of grease, pour it out into an old bottle or an old like a food container, and then just put that into the black bin. And then it says large amounts, full bottles or more, should be brought to a safe center as hazardous waste. So if you scroll down, it'll say, it'll tell you about putting it in the trash. But then it'll say hazardous waste drop-off is an alternative option, and then it'll give you the locations of all those safe centers I talked about. So if you want to know any of those hazardous waste items, where to bring it, just type it in Sort LA, and it'll give you that location of all of those safe centers.
Did you say something about citrus peels being a problem?
I did not say anything about citrus peels. Typically, they're fine. Most peels are totally okay to go into the green bin. When you have to worry about peels is when you're putting them down the sink because you don't want to clog your garbage disposal.
Thanks.
Okay, one more thing I'm going to demo. Oh, sorry, Charles, a question?
Yeah, this is a broader context question, but I was curious with the 1383 requirements. There's been some discussion that eventually we're going to generate too much compost to use. What's your take on that question?
Oh, okay, wait, Charles, I'm anxious about time, so let's let him finish his demonstration and then.
Okay, I thought he was kind of at the end.
He's wrapping it up.
Thank you, Charles. We'll address that at the end. I'll write that down.
All right.
One other thing I want to demo is that this app includes a game. So if you click on the game tab and then click the sorting game, there is a little game to test your skills. I'm hoping we can get through one of the levels right now. Should take pretty quick. So you can change the language in it if you want. It goes from level 1 to 5, which level 1 is the easiest, 5 is the most difficult. What level do you guys think you can handle?
5.
5?
5.
Well, what level do you think we can handle, Nick?
Sustainability Alliance. We should be able to do 5.
I think you guys were paying attention. You were engaged. You can do level 5. And so it'll give you an item and you have to put it in one of the trash bins, put it out for bulky item collection, or bring it to the safe center, all with the LA skyline behind you. So where do we bring pool chemicals?
Safe.
Safe center. Yeah, any sort of chemicals will go here. What about a paper straw?
Oh, that's a good one.
Black, the
Mine.
trash.
Paper.
Green bin.
Recycle.
Green
Blue.
bin.
I'm hearing a lot of different options. Let's try the green
Organics.
bin. So the green bin, it won't go in the green bin technically. Almost every type of paper straw is going to have some sort of plastic lining in the middle.
Yes.
And this is where we take the sogginess test. So if your paper straw is falling apart while you're drinking it, that means there's no plastic lining keeping it together, so it can go in the organics. But 90% of the time, it's going to have that plastic lining, so it's going to stay where it is, and it's going to go in the trash. Next option is cloth gloves.
Trash.
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 Textiles.
Great one. Untreated wood.
The item
Organics.
collection.
Organics.
That'll be organics. For bulky item collection, we typically ask you not to put out wood. That
What if
if
it
you
doesn't
have
fit?
lots, if oh sorry, I'll take it back. You could put out wood bundles. They have to have a certain like weight and length, and that's all. You can look in Sort LA and it'll give you all of that information. But if it fits in your organics bin, put it in your organics bin. Batteries.
Safe.
Safe.
Safe centers. This is a great one.
Yep.
And cables.
Yep.
Safe.
Safe.
Or
Safe center.
trash.
Those, I heard safe center and trash, those are acceptable in both. Cables aren't really an electronic because they don't have a actual like motherboard or electronic circuit board in there. So they could go in the trash, but safe center is your best bet.
Oh my gosh, I have so many cables that have been sitting in my garage for years.
If it's just a regular cable, like a laptop cable will have that circuit board in it, so you're going to want to bring that in. But if it's just like a USB cable, throw it in the trash. Don't bother. And then every time you finish a level in the game, you get to start to build your own little park, your LA park. It's got everything from hot dog stands to dinosaurs. So we hope
Love
you
it.
play around with this a little
Breathe.
bit, test your skills, share it with the kids in your life. Kids typically have tended to love this. And then I will go back to my presentation because I have like 2 more slides to get through really quickly. We are giving out these complimentary Sort LA tote bags. If you go to your local LA Public Library and show them that you've downloaded the app, you're welcome to get one. We're at about 40 libraries throughout the city, and you can go to the Sort LA website to find that list of libraries and find the nearest one to you. And then finally, we would love your help to spread the word. I know we already got people offering us presentations, but we would really like to come and give your neighborhood council a presentation. If you're having a community event, we'll come table. This is a picture of us at the Congress of Neighborhoods back in September when we launched Sort LA. We're really happy to come out, show this to your residents, explain them, give out some of our free complimentary tote bags. You know, we really believe that sorting your waste properly is one of the easiest ways that people can, as I said in the beginning, reduce their waste, live more sustainably without having to spend a bunch of money. So we'd love to join your community to spread that word. Please send your email to these 3 emails or just to me and Tristan is fine. I'll send the emails in the chat as well after this. And thank you. And let me know if you have any questions. Lisa, let me know how you want to handle further questions.
Well, I don't remember who asked that first one. I mean, that first one, the one that you knew I wanted to talk about, but yes, about
Okay.
the rates, the woman who was asking.
Yeah, instead of Sarush rates. That
Yes.
was, her name is slipping from me, but yes, Janice. It was Janice's question.
Thank you.
About
So yeah, I'd love to talk about that one.
yes. So I'll leave this up so people have my email while we answer these questions.
Well, actually, no. Can you take
okay.
that down and put it in the
Yes.
chat? Because I'd love for us to all be able to see each other.
Perfect.
So if we can have them unspotlit and so we can just all see each other, I think that would be nice. Thank you.
So let me put this in the chat. Okay, there it is. So to answer that question, we have gotten this question a lot. Lisa and I have spoken about this before, about why people aren't charged based on the amount of trash they throw away. There are a lot of reasons for this, some of them which are LA specific and some of which are not LA specific. The more general ones is that it's really difficult to keep track of and to enforce because let's say we give people the option to reduce to 30 gallon, which is a third of the size of our bins that we offer right now. It's really difficult to ensure that they're using those bins correctly. Because what will happen in a lot of scenarios is people are going to want to pay as little as possible and reduce the amounts that they have. And that means their excess waste, which they're going to generate anyway, they're going to put in their neighbor's bin, or they're going to dump it out on the street. And so anything that involved that would have to have a really, really strict and intensive system of checking on people. And then if we offered things like a more expensive black bin to encourage people to put things in their green and blue bins, what we're going to get is people putting a lot of trash in their green and blue bins. And we don't have the staffing or the capability to go and check everybody's green and blue bins. So that's the like really starting a hurdle that we would really have to try and find creative situations to get away from. We do understand that we want to encourage people for doing the right thing and reducing their waste as much as possible, but that is a big hurdle to get over. The second thing is that in the state of California specifically, we under Proposition 218, which was made into state law by voters across the state of California, we have really strict requirements on the ways we can charge residents. Now, typically the easiest way to comply with Prop 218 is to give everybody in the city the same services at the same cost. And so any system that gives different levels of cost to people has to go through a lot of scrutiny. And the main issue with the pay-as-you-throw system is that the costs to the city of collecting your waste and disposing of it, the vast majority of the cost is paying the drivers and operating our trucks to come collect that waste. And that cost is going to be the exact same no matter if you have a 30-gallon bin or a 90-gallon bin. If you're throwing away 1 pound of trash versus 50 pounds of trash, it's going to be the same cost to have that driver come and pick up that can. Even though it's less of a cost on the end of it to actually dispose it at the landfill or the recycling center, when we did our intensive rate study where we brought in a consultant to analyze our operations and see exactly where our costs are coming from before we increased the rates last year, they found that the vast majority of our costs come from that labor component where it is the same no matter how much people are throwing out. And because the language in Prop 218 requires us to match the costs the prices that we're charging to the actual costs that we have, it's really, really difficult for us to deviate from that, even in the case of really good behavior from our residents. So hopefully that explains why I know it seems like I'm getting rid of less waste, so I should be, so I'm like contributing to cost savings. You are, but not really in a way that we can legally reimburse you for it. I hope that is a solid start to this discussion or an answer to your question, Lisa.
That was super, super helpful. Thank you. Janice, I don't know if you want to follow up with any questions or comments.
I just want to say that, as our neighborhoods change, as more and more of the plots of land within single-use neighborhoods end up or single family neighborhoods end up with multifamily, whether that's through ADUs or tear downs and replacements with 4 and 6 unit structures or so forth. It seems like we maybe need to, in the future, look at changing the way trash is picked up. I know that at least where I live, there are no alleyways behind homes. Where I grew up, we had alleyways. So when that city went to separate bins, their black bins were on the alley. The previous bins were always on the alley, but they started doing the the recyclables in the green waste in the front from the front yard, but the black barrels were actually shared among multiple residents. They just had big black barrels that everybody threw their stuff in. And so where there are opportunities like that, it seems like that would be a way to reduce costs.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you for sharing. We'll definitely keep creative suggestions like that in mind.
Thanks.
All right, Charles, was Charles the next person? And then we'll try to wrap this up in 10 minutes, and then we'll only be 10 minutes behind, which is kind of what we usually are. Charles says I should never be behind. Is that what you think, Charles? I should never be behind? I don't know if that's
I don't think you and I having a discussion about it keeps us on schedule. Nick, my question, was, with all the mandated composting at 1383, is there a situation? I know there are limited applications for the stream of compost that we're creating, and is there concern that as compliance cycles up, we are going to get in a situation where we have more compost than we can find a use for?
So that's to address that, that's kind of already happening. We're already really flooding the compost market. We're creating much more compost than has been created in the past, because not only because it's not like we're just switching the food waste from the landfill to be making compost. We used to send all of the green waste to a mulching facility to be made into mulch. Now we're combining all of it and sending it to compost. And this is happening across the state. So we are actually flooding the compost markets already. The state has kind of foreseen this. And one of the requirements of SB 1383 is that cities have to purchase back some of the compost that they create. And so we are planning to, in the future, purchase back some of the compost we create for use in parks and landscaping projects. We are also implementing a system where our residents can go directly to the compost facility, purchase the compost, and the city will pay for it. And so that's how we will, kind of reach that commitment that we have under the law, while actually just diverting the compost to our residents. Residents will still have to pay for like shipping and stuff, but we will cover the cost of the compost. And that
just to follow that up, as
that hasn't
somebody
launched yet. Yeah.
Just to follow that up, as somebody who's often involved in landscaping projects, the mulch generated by the city being given out as a free asset or resource,
yes,
is actually of much greater value for sustainable projects usually, which are made too rich by adding a bunch of compost. So is that being factored into what's being done in the planning?
That's a separate.
Will there still be
yeah.
it's beyond your pay grade probably, but
yeah.
I was going to say, is there a way to continue to divert some to mulch in order to have a better applied usage, I guess?
The city's like free mulch that we give out is still going to be available. We take that from sources that don't have food waste involved in them. So that's like park waste. A lot of what comes out of the zoo, which is a mixture of landscaping and what we call the zoo do, will either be composted locally, or if it's just green waste, we have green waste processing facilities that just process green waste, and we will create mulch out of that. So unfortunately, everything that goes into the green bins has to go to the same place, and we can no longer mulch that material, but other sources of material we are still mulching.
Thank you. I kind of felt like that's where we were going, but hearing it from you is also very helpful. Appreciate it.
Glenn.
Well, I had one question, but now this generates something else. Can you clarify then the mulch that used to be available for the residents to pick up over several years ago, maybe more? So is that the content of that is now changed?
No.
From what you're saying to?
That's still, we still take that from, that has never been coming from people's green bins. It's coming from other sources like landscaping waste.
Got it. Okay. So I've used it, and I can't tell you how much time I had to spend going through it and removing shredded pieces of plastic, even metal, glass, all sorts of other things. So So that's a concern. Just in terms of the quality of it, especially knowing it's coming from parks and the zoo. I just assume. Okay, so that's number one.
We always appreciate feedback about that, especially when there's glass in the mulch, because we know that can be dangerous. That's something we've heard before, and hopefully trying to work to fix. But
Yeah.
I'll send your concern.
Well, metal too,
to those
because
people.
if it's rusted and you're doing work with hands,
Yep.
Okay. All right. So as far as the equity issue, it seems to me that you've got 30-gallon containers, 60, 90. And I heard your argument about a lower price. I mean, this a set cost for. But I also know DWP gives reduced rates for low income folks, et cetera. And it seems to me that there needs to be extra effort posed for folks who generate. It sounds like someone like Janice who wouldn't even fill up a 30-gallon container in a year, but at least it's a start. So the 90-gallon waste generators are not paying the same as the 30 gallons. Sorry, and my original question was, we, the neighborhood councils, have two very large citywide events at City Hall each year. And we're coming up with one this month on the budget day, and then we have the Congress in September. And we try to make them as sustainable as possible. So for the June event, we were trying to get away from single-use water bottles, and we were looking at different alternatives, such as aluminum canned water, and some of the options, were seltzer water, whatever. So anyway, one of the folks involved, who happens to be president of the Palms Neighborhood Council, said that aluminum cans that are carbonated or seltzer have plastic in them, and they're not recyclable, and so we shouldn't use them. And so unfortunately for the June event, we're back to single-use water bottles. But can you clarify, because I've never heard this before? I mean, to me, anything that was sold in an aluminum can, we take it, we get the deposit, or it gets recycled. And can you clarify about this comment about plastic being inside of it for certain types of beverages?
So all aluminum or metal cans will have a very, very small layer of plastic on the inside. That's because otherwise they're going to rust. That does not stop them from being recyclable. I can't speak specifically to how the recycling facilities are run, how they will remove that plastic, but it's never been a problem. So any type of aluminum can is going to be recyclable, regardless of what liner they use on the inside.
Glenn, I can tell you that this is very controversial. The whole aluminum can thing is super controversial among people we work with in Reusable LA, which the Sustainability Alliance is a member of. And Charles has a very strong opinion about this. I frankly do not remember which side he takes, but my personal opinion, and I think everybody would agree with this, would agree that aluminum cans are far superior to plastic bottles. They are not perfect, but they are far superior to plastic bottles.
Not even close. It's not even close when you figure in the economics of the situation. Aluminum in nature only exists as aluminum oxide. It's extremely expensive to mine and purify. Aluminum that is being recycled through cans is in its state that we want it already. It is the most effective product to recycle with respect to value returned for the recycling process.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I was backing you up.
You said not even close.
Okay, well,
You sounded like you were disagreeing, but he was agreeing. Anyway.
It sounds like that was the understanding. And of course, my advocacy was everyone bring their own refillable water bottle.
Of course.
And then use the drinking fountains at City Hall. But okay, so
yeah, that's much better. Aluminum cans are not great, but it's much better than plastic bottles.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's why at this June event is because of this argument that I guess is fallacious.
I will talk to Kay, Glenn.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe to get something better. Thanks.
Lionel.
Yes, thank you, Miss Lisa. Nick, City family, welcome. Quick question regarding the plastic straw. I'm sorry, I apologize if I missed it. I noticed that some straws at some shops, like coffee shops or so forth, it's like made of paper. I'm not sure if you had that. Is that still safe to dispose? And did you see in the green bin, or is that still in the blue bin? It's like out of paper. It's different material from plastics.
If it's
You know what I
typically
mean?
if they're if they get waterlogged and they like fall apart as you're using them,
Yeah.
then it's just paper and you could put it in the green bin. If it
Okay.
doesn't get
Thank you very much.
if it doesn't get waterlogged, it has to go in the trash because it has plastic.
All right, let me follow up with one last question and then we'll let you folks go. I'm hearing about, through some other work we're doing, we're hearing about some proposals. This is a little bit related to what Charles was talking about. That the city is probably working toward or talking about working toward getting composting siting. We talked about this earlier also. Composting siting closer to the city. And I'm realizing that might have to do with the fact that we just are generating too much compost. And I'm also hearing about, and this is new to me, so maybe you can educate us a little bit about like farm to fork or fork to farm.
Fork to farm, yeah.
Programs. Maybe that's connected. So I don't know a lot about what I'm talking about, but I'm hoping you can educate us on a little bit of all of that.
So I'm not 100% the expert on those problems. So if you want more information, please follow up.
Well, I think you'll know more than we do. So
Yeah,
you can pretend you're the expert for this Zoom room.
Okay. What I can say about the localized composting sites is yes, that's something that's being pushed for a while because we know that there are very limited amount of industrial level compost facilities in the state of California as a whole that can barely meet our demand for how much organic waste we're generating. And there aren't any in LA County at all. So we have to, well, no, Lamont is still in LA County, but there aren't any in this area of LA County. And so there's a couple movements on this front. The state just passed a law making it easier to permit smaller size compost facilities. That is mostly intended for people like farmers who want to compost the material they're generating on site. Like they have a lot of waste from their plants. They want to more easily compost it on site so they don't have to truck it to a compost facility, which makes sense. They're the ones using the compost, so why don't we let them compost on lands? It is less meant for making smaller sized compost facilities in a city like LA, but it is still possible under the law. We've received direction from the city council to start exploring that option. They want to do it. They want us to look. We're going to report back to them on the feasibility of looking into something at Pierce College, working with the college and the agricultural program there.
Okay, and is that SB 279?
I believe that is SB 279.
Okay, thank you.
And so that kind of allows that to be possible. Whether or not it is feasible is a different question because starting and citing a compost facility, even with the relaxed rules of SB 279, is really difficult, especially in a city like the city of LA. There were a lot, there was a little bit of talk earlier about how smelly these items are, and so composting it outside in somebody's neighborhood requires a lot of regulations and attention to detail to make sure that we are not negatively impacting the community. Plus, just the timeline of something like that in terms of the construction and the permitting would be on a scale of 5 to 10 plus years. Another issue is that is a contractual one. We started composting our materials in 2023. We're required by contractual agreements to bring a minimum amount of facility of green bin waste to the facilities that we've contracted with. And these contracts are going to last 5, 10, 15 years. And so even if alternatives become available, it's going to be really difficult for us to kind of divert our waste from the places that we already have agreements to it. Obviously, it would be ideal if we could keep it in our backyard. It would reduce costs a lot. But from a legal standpoint,
and reduce emissions.
And reduce emissions, of course. The legal standpoint, we can't just do it with the snap of a finger. If people start moving their food waste over from the black to the green bin en masse, and we really get that going, maybe we have more flexibility. But unfortunately, it's not something we can really commit to at the moment.
And also, we haven't even talked about the recyclate contracts. Those are happening those are getting finalized in 2027 or 2028?
Tristan, do you know the timeline on that? When they're finalized and when the new contracts will begin?
Hopefully next. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my mic isn't moving. So, hopefully next January, but I can double check. So, if you want to follow up with an email, Lisa, because honestly, I'm gonna forget. I have a lot right
No,
now.
that's okay. I don't need to know, but I'm just realizing that probably plays a role into all of this. So those are happening soon, and then this would happen much later because it's just started.
And Tristan, do you know if there's incentives for keeping material local in those contracts?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'd be happy to check and just follow up with Lisa.
That'd be something to follow up on. That may be one of the things we're considering when we're choosing contractors.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if that was being if people are thinking about that, but the timing's probably not. This is the stuff I don't think Spencer Pratt was thinking about when he was running for mayor. Okay, and just just a sentence or two about farm to fork or fork to farm.
You're gonna have to follow up with me on that. I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, you're not familiar with it. Okay. Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, well, this has been super educational. As you could tell, we could just keep going. I mean, there's just, it's endless. It's just endless, right? You're like, yes, it is.
Yes, I could talk forever. I noticed a couple of questions in the chat, so I might stick around for 5 more minutes and just respond to those. But yes, please, if you have follow-up questions, please send me an email, send Tristan an email. We'll be happy to help.
Okay, so you can, you're saying you can answer those in the chat? Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to answer them very briefly in the chat, but if you have follow-up questions, please email me.
Okay.
But yes, thank you for having us. We're very happy to be here. We really appreciate getting feedback from you guys about what's working and what's not, and it's something that we will keep in mind for the future.
Okay, we're gonna go move. Thank you guys so much, both Tristan and Nick. This was great. Super educational. And yeah, we need to get the word out, right? And just getting the word out to our neighborhood councils is, most people don't even know neighborhood councils exist. So that's still just getting to just a few people. And obviously most people are not as passionate as we are, but it's a start, right? So, just do a little bit at a time. All right, now we'll get to our committee reports. It always takes me a minute to get those slides up. Cindy, did I see you here? Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the floor to talk about the rec. Is that okay?
Well, I think you know as much as I do about it, but
well, but it's better for people to hear different voices, and it takes me a minute to pull up the slides. So if you can just talk about the Rec and Park thing and recruit people, that would be great. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so do people know about this generally? The Charter Reform Commission has been working on changing a number of things that dictate how the city operates. One of them is how much funding goes to the Department of Rec and Parks, which is severely underfunded. You may know that our ranking among other cities has fallen from like 50th to 90th to 93rd this year. And one of the recommendations in the with the Charter Reform Commission was to double the allocation of property taxes currently in the charter from 0.0325 to 0.065, I believe. So pretty nominal, although it ends up being tens of millions of dollars. So this went through the Charter Reform Commission, and it's gone through a couple of committees. It's now in front of the Rules Committee, and they're getting some pushback from some council members who feel that it ties their hands too much in setting budgetary priorities. But the advocates contend that that's exactly the point of this, is to not let the city council be constantly mucking around in the budgets of these crucial departments that impact so many lives. So there was a Rules Committee meeting on Friday. It didn't go as badly as some had feared, but some council members are still trying to reduce the amount of funding that would go to rec and parks. There's another meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the council chambers, a second Rules Committee meeting. They expect a big turnout there. So they're asking folks to come out at noon for a meeting that starts at 1. I went on Friday and couldn't get in. I arrived a little bit late. People were lined up on the street outside. So they're asking people to come in and talk about their experience with parks and how funding is needed. I personally know that here in Silver Lake, they don't have money for irrigation supplies and way understaffed. It's pretty pitiful. And then there will be a full council meeting on Wednesday. Is that 10 o'clock? Does the council meet at 10 on?
I think so, yeah.
Where they will also, that will be going to the full council to talk about these issues. So there was one on Tuesday, but I think that we're not going to be concerned about that. So all hands on deck, and maybe Lisa can send something out as well about it.
I can't easily send something to the whole group, but I can easily send something to our advocacy committee. So email me if you're interested. If you want to go, because we would like people to go, email me and I can give you the information. Or text me and let me know, and we will make sure you have the information. And Cindy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm Cindy Hubach. I chair the Green Committee for the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, and I'm on the Community Forest Advisory Committee, representing CD13, and I'm president of the Silver Lake Reservoirs Conservancy.
Yeah, and she's been very involved with the Zone Zero issue and a bunch of other things. Okay. So we had elections today. We had elections recently, and we're going to have elections again, and we'll be very involved with all of that. Briefly, the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, the head of that was let go. So we're keeping our eye on that. We've got a lot of stuff going on with artificial turf. Terry, would you like to say, I know we have so much going on with that. We really could use people's help on this. But Terry, would you like to say a sentence or two about what's going on?
Right, I'll just give a quick overview. Right now, this week, we're meeting with LAUSD, the firm that's doing the natural turf versus artificial turf study. It's going to be a bit of a workshop with them, try to fix some errors in their statements and in their presentation. We're also going to meet later with Schmielson. He is the president of the BOE, to kind of give him an update on what we found out and what's happening. We had one meeting with LA Rec and Parks facility director, and we're supposed to get a follow-up meeting. Hopefully that's coming up soon. We just met last week with the chancellor and the director of facilities and a few others with the LA Community College District, talking about a few opportunities and problems with artificial turf. We were hoping to get some follow-up meetings, and it looks like we will. They were very receptive. We also just learned that, LA Rec and Parks, they're about to award their RFP for a natural grass versus artificial turf study. We know that's in the works, and there's some talks about funding. And we're supposed to get a follow-up meeting with the facilities director. We had one initial meeting, and they seemed receptive to the idea of sustainably managed natural grass fields. And then just an FYI, we just found out the city of San Fernando actually banned installations of artificial turf, and they kind of use the model from the city of Millbrae. But we're doing a lot. There's a lot going on. So if anybody wants to get more involved, we'd be happy to have you. We'd love your help. Thank you.
And regarding I forget the long term, but somebody here might know, the San Pasqual Park issue has been going on for, I think, at least a couple of years. And now there is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Jurado, and it's moving, I think it's moving relatively quickly, and we are tentatively looking at hearing that at our next general meeting, July 12th. So hearing both the pros and the cons. So we will keep you posted. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the items because we don't have time. Oh, public bank. We really tried to get that funded through the budget this year. We did not succeed, but we have a new, pretty exciting idea. So I hope I'll have some good news in the near future about that. All right, energy. AJ.
Thank you, Lisa. So, first item, and I'll be succinct because of time, but for those of you who have been following Council File 25-1360, that's around the scattergood, the LADWP scattergood modernization. So, our committee took a position around the letter, and this is related to some feedback on the environmental impact report because there were some findings and concerns. So we actually wrote a letter or drafted a letter as committee and voted on it and just finished the vote yesterday. So look forward to that circulating to board level. Also, some exciting things. Me and Lisa participated in the LADWP Community Advisory Board, so had some interesting conversations and had the lucrative opportunity of interfacing with LADWP around the LA 100 plan to become 100% renewable by 2045 and raised our initial concerns, which otherwise are difficult at times to bridge to LADWP contacts. We also plan on having a little conversation around the cap and invest. So for those of you familiar to this, there's some changes that have actually occurred that I've just learned and read about on Cal Matters, where there's some funding that otherwise would have benefited from reducing emissions and also fund some important grant projects. For example, some of it even trickles to workforce development. And then also we'll be talking a little bit around Senate Bill 868, which is pending legislation around portable solar generation devices for rentals. So I guess the way to simplify this context is maybe look up the Utah legislation. It's similar to this. And this is something that I've been following with the fellow podcaster in the solar industry who's been talking about multiple states that have adopted this legislation. And finally, last but not least, I am still seeking an energy committee chair. I'm still pretty much shouldering this on my own, but just putting it out there, our meetings are every third Wednesday at 7 p.m. And thank you for my time.
All right, Muriel.
Hello. So our last meeting is May 12th. That was a Tuesday. We had a very spirited conversation about homeowner risk to solar panel visibility discussion with a person who lived in West LA. And then also there was a conversation regarding the Metrolink train service change, and ways to combat it. And I think the person who had brought it up had mentioned that there was a meeting that people could put in public comment. So we're gonna have a change. Our new meeting time is the second Tuesday of the month, starting in July. We couldn't do it this past second Thursday because me and the co-chair happen to be out. But this coming meeting, only for this June, is this coming Thursday at 7 p.m. And this is only for this month. And that's it.
Oh, I'm confused. That's not what I thought. Sorry. We're going to have to talk about that.
Okay.
That might not be true. Okay. More to come on that. Trees. Joanne.
Is Joanne still here? Yeah, it looks like she is still here.
Sorry, I was muted. Hard to shut me up, but I was muted. At any rate, I missed the last couple of meetings. Charles covered for me. He's our liaison to the LANCSA board. And I understand the meetings were really great. And I didn't have the links for the recordings. Maybe Charles can either put them in the chat or give them to me to send out to the trees committees. I still have the lists and I'm still chair. It's just that my husband is very needy right now, and I he's in a rehab center, and I have to go for all the meals because there's no one there that knows how to help him. So at any rate, that puts me out of commission during meal times. As far as the Zone Zero Regulatory Advisory Committee, it's meeting this June 16th, which is day after tomorrow, from 3 to 5. It's a different time than they usually meet. And they haven't changed their tentative rules for the state, but CFAC did send them a letter reminding them that there have been two new papers done that actually create a distinction between wildfires and urban conflagrations. And that's an important distinction because the fires spread differently outside of cities. And they've discovered that in cities like Los Angeles and Ventura, density is what is at issue rather than hydrated vegetation when there's embers and risk of fire spread. So we encourage more letters to the Board of Forestry Zone Zero Regulatory public comment line. It's probably a little late to get it in for this meeting, but it's nevertheless important to let them know. I will try to send links to these two papers out. The main writers of both of them are, I don't know if they were the main writers, but they were the main researchers on both of these papers that actually went out in the field and analyzed what happened after the fires. They spoke at the UCLA Defensible Space Working Group, and that's where I heard them. So as far as bringing you up to date on other things, charter reform has an item in it that the council file was up under the advocacy committee. I don't have it in front of me, but there is a part in there that changes the code to allow sale of parkland. And my neighborhood council actually brought this to my attention, and our neighborhood council filed a CIS, and CFAC also filed a CIS opposing this part of the charter reform. And Marianne King from CFAC actually talked to John Lee, Councilmember John Lee, who also is against the sale of parkland. I mean, how can we sell parkland when we're number 93 in the country? And yet San Pasqual Park, there's talk of selling it, and there's talk of making it legal to sell parkland. So this with the mayor saying that we need to create more parkland, the current mayor. So it's an important issue, and we want to keep following it. And it may be too late for CISs, but you can certainly put a public comment on that charter reform, because this amendment should not be in there. I mean, it should be amended not to allow the sale of parkland. And the next trees committee will be on Saturday, July 25th, tentatively at our usual time on Zoom. I haven't double checked yet, confirmed if Charles can cover. If my husband is out of rehab, I might be able to do the meeting. Also, I want to call your attention to the fact that the fire department's been sending out an officer, Ben Culp, who has been speaking out of turn about removing vegetation in the 5 feet, moving everything in the 5 feet next to homes. And he did this in my community, which is not in the very high fire hazard severity zone. And so I engaged with him, and I was appalled at his presence. And Cindy Hubeck's been talking to the brush clearance captain about why is this man going around trying to get people to remove their whatevers in the first 5 feet around their homes, which in a lot of cases, that's the only vegetation and trees that a lot of apartment buildings and homes have. So given our density. So that's it. Don't listen to the insurance companies. Try to find a different one. We're trying to help people find a way to not have to be forced by insurance companies to remove their vegetation, because it really serves no good purpose in the city. Thanks so much, and see you in July. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We are over time, but not by a lot. Announcements, my quick one I already mentioned. I think our next meeting, I'm not positive, I'll know more tomorrow, should be July 12th. That's our regular time, and I think it will be on the San Pasqual Park question, hearing the pros and cons of the proposed Arroyo Seco water use project. I'm probably saying that incorrectly. Other announcements, Glenn?
Yes, hopefully most of you have gotten the multiple emails about the Neighborhood Council Budget Day coming up in 2 weeks, Saturday, June 27th, City Hall. If you go to our website, I'll try to get this in chat before you close the meeting, but if you go to the website, budgetadvocates.org, right there on the homepage, there'll be a link there to register. There's been one change at City Hall starting last month, and that is for parking using the parking lot under City Hall East, now requires advanced registration. They must have your name, vehicle, make, model, license, etc. So that's true for the Congress. That'll be true for Budget Day. It'll be true for anything that large events that we have there. So therefore, the registration deadline, if you want us to accommodate parking, is June 24th. Now, you can certainly attend registering later, but you'll need to find parking on your own, or better yet, take the subway or mass transit. So we have confirmed a lot of the elected officials, including the mayor, but all the folks who touch the city budget. So that includes mayor, city controller, president of the city council, the city administrative officer, the chair of the city council budget and finance committee, and a number of others. And we also have a panel discussion. We do hold our biennial, that's every 2-year election of budget advocates. So the breakout sessions that after 11:30, after the session ends, break out by region. We elect the new budget advocates for the next upcoming 2 years. So please make sure your 2 budget representatives from your neighborhood council attend. If they can't attend, your treasurer is the next in line to vote, although they can't run to be a budget advocate. And then if you need a second vote because your other budget rep's not available, it's the president or chair who can vote. If you have any questions, you can contact the budget advocates through the website, budgetadvocates.org. Thank you very much.
Charles?
Very quickly, I want to invite everybody to attend the monthly chapter virtual meeting for Los Angeles Climate Reality Project on Sunday, June 28th at 7 p.m. My guest in our Climate Movers and Shakers interview series is going to be Aaron Kreisberg, who is the head of the invasive plant program for the Catalina Conservancy. It's going to be a bunch of talk about ecosystem balance and how things are brought back from recovery with invasive plants and issues along those lines. Should be a really interesting thing. The chat is now the link is now in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, is that it for announcements? I think that is. All right, well, thank you, everybody. It was lovely seeing all of you, and have a lovely, however long the period is before I see you next. And it's our president's birthday, for whatever that means for you. That shouldn't have been the last thing I said. That was
Okay.
bad to make that the last thing. You
So,
gotta say something else.
Lisa, make the last thing that this is Flag Day, something that existed before our president was born.
That's
and-
better. That's
Okay.
better. Thank you, Lionel and Glenn. Happy Flag Day. Or Happy Pride Month. That's better. Yeah. Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Nick, for coming, City Family. Woo!